Yeah, so we could probably throw Medieval into a family-friendly Halloween game, especially when you're blasting at characters like this in the middle of the game.
Listen, Vic, this list better be good. You introduced your daughter to Green Lantern from 2011.
Oh,
all right, so
yeah.
we got to make this list good for Ruby's sake right now.
I'm playing a game right now, and it's the next game that I'm going to move on to. And I guess you could kind of put it into Halloween, although not really. It's Concrete Genie, and it's a game where you paint all kinds of things on walls, and they come to life and everything. And I started to play. It's really beautiful, and I haven't really done this that often. But it was like, nope, I'm not playing this right now. I'm stopping right now. I have to play this with my kid.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. So I'll have a review of that with Ruby, I think, if she likes it. But we'll probably talk about that. But right now, we talked about some of the horror stuff. I did the first 5 kind of spooky stuff that's sort of more gamer-centric. We just talked about a bunch more ideas. I mean, the list is endless, and I'm sure we just kind of like scratched the surface. But there are family-friendly games that you may want to get in the Halloween spirit with maybe tonight with your kid, although some of you are on the East Coast, so it's probably getting pretty late. But maybe tomorrow before you go out trick-or-treating, or get them all on a sugar high and then sit down in front of the TV and play a bunch of these games. I would say that tomorrow night is a weird night, as Johnny Millennium and I kind of talked about with Luigi's Mansion 3. Yeah. Why did Nintendo not release it
before?
On the Friday, this last Friday, so people would have had the weekend to get in the Halloween spirit. It's a perfect game to get in the Halloween spirit.
So they're releasing it tomorrow right on Halloween. Is that correct?
Tomorrow, yes. I guess at 9 o'clock tonight. Well, because of East Coast time.
Yeah,
right? So people will – and our review is up. Johnny and I freaking love this game.
Yeah, because you got to imagine kids are going trick-or-treating, right, during their evenings after school.
Yes.
So they're not really concerned about going to the game store.
Yeah, and all day at school. Like my kid is in her costume tomorrow, and they're celebrating it all day.
Yeah,
which is great. When
That's
you're
absolutely
a kid.
right.
Yeah. So there's not going to be too many people rushing home to play this on their Switch, and it's too bad because it's a great game to get you into that spirit. But you could say that about all of the Luigi's Mansion games.
Maybe Nintendo's smart. Maybe Nintendo's realized that most of their target audience is now in their 20s and 30s, who have nothing to do on Halloween.
Their 20s and 30s.
Yes.
I love
20s, 30s.
Oh, you're making yourself older than me. That's amazing. 20s and 30s.
A game I want to give a shout out to, though, 2003, because I think as far as kid-friendly games, there's a lot of classic stuff on the list here. I want to give a shout out to Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Oh, my God.
2003, Rare, when they were first acquired by Microsoft, I believe. That was one of their first titles that they released.
Yes.
And it was, it was one of those games that came out.
I want to play the Price is Right music. Ba-dum, ba-dum. You know what I'm saying? Because I was there reviewing that game on the Xbox when it came out, and Rare was like one of my favorite if not my favorite game company on earth with all the N64 stuff that they did. And then Grabbed by the Ghoulies comes out. It's like, I don't know, guys. I mean, it was kind of cute.
I think it was a cute game to go back and play with kids. The problem was, I feel like the people who loved Rare games, they were used to the Perfect Darks. They were used to, obviously, we had a Perfect Dark Zero eventually come out. But they were used to the Banjos and the Donkey Kong. So
this
obviously
was
at the time,
original Xbox.
This was original Xbox, which I think at the time was not a right call. But I think as a lot of a lot of these people who bought these games became parents. I think it's a fun game to play with your kids.
I mean,
it's
still
so
has
simple.
The Rare charm and stuff in there, but it doesn't have the Jet Force Gemini or the Diddy Kong Racing or the Conker's Bad Fur Day. It doesn't
play that with your kid, Nick.
That's a great kid-friendly game. Okay, I'm glad that you put that in there. I'm going to throw down Plants vs. Zombies, and you could sort of go any one of them. The mobile game is fun, and anybody can play that game. And the mobile game came from the PC original, that sort of tower defense thing. The shooters have been fun. The modern, what is it?
Modern Garden Warfare.
Garden Warfare. I always get that confused. and the new one I just reviewed too, the Battle for Neighborville. It was really fun. There's actually lots and lots of
those games sell well. There's a reason why they keep coming out.
It's really fun, and I played it with my nephew and my daughter, and they both were like, "Wow, look at all the it's really flashy. It's got the Frostbite engine, and there's all kinds of stuff flying everywhere, and the zombies are super cool, and and distinct, and the plants are it's crazy, enjoyable.
Vic's plant reviews, I like it.
Yeah, no, it's really it's a solid franchise.
I'm gonna take us back.
Okay.
I want to give a shout out to a game that I till this day regret trading in.
Okay.
I never trade in games, and this was the only game I traded in. I still can't sleep at night.
Oh, really?
Thinking about trading it in, because I traded it in for Mortal Kombat, the animated TV show, which was terrible. It was like this VHS.
You traded a game for a show?
For a show. Listen, Vic.
Wow. Okay.
These were dark times in my life that we won't get to.
All right.
This is Zombies Ate My Neighbors, which was on the Super Nintendo, which was a terrific game.
What a classic game. Round of applause for Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors was
so inventive.
So good.
Yes.
And it was one of those games that I felt like I appreciated more the older I got.
Yep.
You know, I don't know how well it did when it first came out,
Yes.
but it was a terrific game, really difficult, so it might be hard to play with a kid without them throwing the controller at you. I don't know if Ruby does that to you, but I doubt it. But
no. You know, she's the luckiest kid in the world if she wants to get into video games. She was actually saying that she wants her own Switch account so she can buy games, and I said,
yeah,
Ruby,
so she can watch
we don't
Green
need
Lantern.
to buy any more games. We have a lot of games. We're not buying more games. So don't worry about that.
She just wants to watch Green Lantern in privacy without any of your confirmation.
The Green Lantern game.
Oh, God.
Now
Vic.
I know what I'm going to put in front of her for Christmas.
No, Vic. Ruining her poor childhood.
That is a great suggestion. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I love that. And I love when games are made so long ago in the 16-bit era, but they hold up, and some of the art also kind of holds up with 3D art. You know?
I think 16-bit has aged wonderfully.
Yeah, absolutely it has. I'm going to say The Nightmare Before Christmas, the Oogie's Revenge, which was a PS2 and Xbox original game, GameCube game.
I've never played this game.
It's kind of like a very, very light Devil May Cry action-adventure platformer thing with Jack Skellington. And I brought in the HD RGB HDMI connected GameCube.
Interesting.
And we were going to play the GBA version. It was going to be the first GBA game of Nightmare Before Christmas that we've ever streamed on EP Live, but we're running out of time, and Johnny and I have actually got to go and see Terminator after the show, so I don't think we're going to have time to show it. But I'll keep the GameCube here, and we will stream the occasional Game Boy Advance and GameCube titles off of the machine. You know? But yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas, they actually did a pretty solid job. I think everybody's a fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, yeah? But seriously, they need to look at that brand. I mean, it's been back in the Kingdom Hearts games.
It is, that's right, yeah.
Right? But there's a lot of different ways that we could get back into that Tim Burton
I think so, too.
universe,
yeah,
right?
And it's interesting, you know, right now in my workplace, in the office, there's a lot of mothers, and they talk about how their kids actually really gravitate towards Nightmare Before Christmas. I think there's still something so special about that art style and, you know, just that film. That still, you know, can appeal to the new generation.
Yeah, so you need an older console to play that, but I think if you have the means,
this is why we need backwards compatibility, Vic.
Unbelievably so. Yeah, this year it has become more profound for me than ever before.
Yeah.
You know, with companies like Analog, with all of their announcements and their systems, and I've been reviewing 16-bit Superhero. I've actually got one for you guys here, but it's time to have all of this stuff at our fingertips, you know, and I honestly don't know how we do that unless we go into this console-less future. I think one of the holdups is all the hardware that people are going to need to create in order to access all of this stuff. And I'm telling you, if Google Stadia says we have this suite of every Konami game that they made for 8-bit and 16-bit as part of your monthly subscription, a lot of people are going to go for that.
I'm only going to be convinced once there's no lag, but that's a whole other conversation we can get to.
Esports, I know, I get it.
Gotta be esports. You gotta make sure you're frame perfect with every jump.
Yes.
And speaking of a game that has a lot of jumps, I want to give a shout out to Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah.
Capcom game. This is not one that a lot of people think about when we think about Halloween.
It's not scary.
It's not scary.
It turns you into a monster.
It does
when you play it.
It looks like we're talking about a lot about those games. But this game's also in the Nintendo Switch Online service. Now they have the Super Nintendo lineup, and this is part of that library. I think it's an easy game to access, easy game to play with a kid.
Easy game to be terrible at.
Yes, it's true. It is a little difficult, but you know that's why we can't play that on Google Stadia. You know how much lag that would add to each jump?
I know, I hear you.
Unbelievable.
You got to prove it, Google Stadia. You got to prove it. That is a great one. And you know, Castlevania fits in there.
I think so.
Some of the games
think
are
so.
family friendly. Some of them definitely not. And the show, definitely not. But it's super cool.
Yeah, the show's
Netflix,
really violent.
Anime, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's some suggestions. You can get into the Halloween spirit tonight and play some of these games with your family, or put on the VR headset and play some Resident Evil 7 and freak yourself the hell out.
Don't do
and
that.
you will have a good time.
Don't do that.